40,000 kilos of savouries
can be produced in a day. Sweets is around 10 tons a day we are producing here.
10 tons. That's about 10,000 kilos. I think the mind boggles listening to those numbers. Rasgulla. Is that the jamun?
This is the jamun.
Doodh peda, paneer jamun. Oh, there's also some son papdi happening here. There's some Mysore pak there. Oh, there's some jangiri happening there. I feel the equivalent of being a kid in a toy factory. But we are in no toy factory, we are in a sweet factory. The A2B sweet factory. Quite satisfying to actually watch that machine pipe out that jangiri, the ulangu mavu, into those concentric rounds and then make further twirls on top of it, and then that gently releases it into that bath of ghee, almost as if telling the jangiri, go, I'm done with you, now soak yourself in that bath of nehi. That's another one of my favorite sweets. What I love about the dodda burfi, Namaskara folks, or should I say Vanakkam, because we are in Ambattur, Chennai. This is Kripal Amanna Gourmet on the Road and you're watching Food Lovers TV. So we have been invited to the Adyar Ananda Bhavan Sweets and Snacks Factory here in Ambattur, Chennai, which I am also told is the largest facility of its kind in South India. Its origins, however, are rather humble. The group had its beginning when the patriarch Sri Tirupati Raja opened a tiny sweet shop in his hometown of Rajapalyam in Tamil Nadu. The family's main occupation was agriculture, and the sweet shop perhaps was a sweet distraction. However, due to unforeseen circumstances that rendered their land uncultivable, Sri Tirupati Raja had to turn his attention once again to sweets. He then travelled the country learning the art of sweets from various masters that he met along the way. And in the mid-70s, he found himself in Bengaluru, where in a tiny shop in Sri Ramapuram, he began Srinivasa Sweets with his wife and his two sons, KT Srinivasa Raja and KT Venkateshan. The family returned to Tamil Nadu in the late 70s, where they began Sri Ananda Bhavan in Chennai. More outlets followed, and like they say, the rest is history. Today, the group has over 12,000 employees and over 150 outlets that are spread across the south of India and also in other parts of the world. And I'm here today to meet the third generation of the Sri Ananda Bhavan family. So I'm with Vishnu and Abhirami. I was just standing here admiring this mural of your grandparents, and I'm told it's very symbolic. This is something that is there in every store.
Yeah, it's a great responsibility for us in terms of what the roots, what our grandfather has put to these, my parents, my uncle, the effort, the journey, what the brand took. It has learned, we have learned a lot from them. As my grandfather used to tell always, he had three things which he always taught us to take care.
Okay.
One is the supplier.
Okay.
That supplier is the first and foremost for us. Whatever he gives you, you need to give him back also.
Okay.
Kind of approach you need to give him. The second thing what he taught us is that to our landlords. Satisfy these both, ultimately you'll get good customer and good employee. That's the key thing which as a brand still we keep that in mind.
So take care of your vendors firstly.
Then the landlords.
Right, because that's where you get the palu from. The milk and the sugar and the grains and everything else that goes into the making of the sweets. And then take care of your landlords. That is something that nobody has ever said this to me in the last 1,000 videos that we've probably produced. Okay.
To take utmost care.
Take utmost care. And then
the employee and our customers.
Then the employees and your customers. How wonderful is that? As cliched as this question may sound, I have to ask this. Do you have a sweet tooth?
Sure.
Big time.
Big time.
I like everything.
Everything, okay.
Mysore pak.
Mysore pak.
My favorite is jamun.
Fantastic. And I think we've arrived at the right place. We are here at the Adyar Ananda Bhavan Sweets and Snacks Factory, where Abhirami is going to walk us through the production and the facility. Fantastic. So I hope that we'll also get to do some tasting along the way, because I'm already sweating thanks to Chennai's humidity. But I'm told the factory is air conditioned.
Fully air conditioned.
Fully air conditioned, and there's plenty of sweets and savouries to snack on along the way. Let's go. I can already smell some nehi somewhere in the atmosphere.
40 tons.
40 tons. 40,000 kilos of savouries.
Can be produced in a day. It's around 10 tons a day we are producing here.
10 tons. That's about 10,000 kilos.
And we have a ghee melting unit. We
Okay.
can produce around 4,000 kg a day.
I think the mind boggles listening to those numbers, but let's delve a little deeper into the factory here.
So this is the cashew processing area. So kaju, katli, all dry fruits are processed here.
I can see some kaju katli here already.
And I must tell this is one of the top selling product.
Oh, wonderful. I can smell the aroma of that cashew in the air. So where do you source this cashew from?
Majority it comes from Bengaluru.
I thought that cashew that goes into the kaju katli may be the broken cashew, but this is not. So why do some people use broken cashew and you're using whole cashews here, which is more expensive?
It's kind of little expensive, but here the bean is complete full size. Then you have the good proportion of sugar in it.
Also, I guess when you have the full cashew, you know that it's only the cashew. If it comes in broken pieces, you don't know what that is, right? So that also gives them an idea of the provenance and the quality of the ingredient.
Yeah, sourcing of ingredient plays a vital role.
Fantastic.
Source right, that's the ultimate product of the dish.
Ah, lovely. So basically the cashew goes into this, is pounding it. What emerges from there is cashew paste, and that's ready to be mixed into the sugar. Let's take a look at what happens to that kaju and sugar paste further down the line. Cooking kettle. So basically it will now heat up the kaju and the sugar. You just want to heat it so that it combines.
Combines together and it forms a paste.
So a kaju katli is of course the cashew and the sugar, and do you add some cardamom?
Just these two ingredients.
Just two ingredients, there's nothing else. No cardamom, nothing else. Really?
Yes.
Oh, you're not telling me a
No,
secret.
that's nothing, you can see. Sourcing right cashew and sugar, that's it.
So is there also a quality standard to the sugar that you source here?
Yes sir, we procure sulfur-free S31 sugar.
S31, sulfur-free sugar.
So the sulfur-free sugar will give good taste and feel of the product. Sulfur will have little taste but which will spoil the sweetness.
So I learned from Vishnu that there are only two ingredients that go into the making of the kaju katli. The cashew and the sugar. I think nothing can demonstrate more the importance of ingredients. Right, when you have only two ingredients that go in, and with a bit of process in the steam kettle, as that kaju and sugar mix is heated to make that kaju katli, there's very little intervention in terms of taste. So it's the quality of the cashew and the sugar that ultimately reflects in what you place in your mouth. Fantastic. And how long will this cook here?
It's around 20 minutes.
20 minutes it will cook. So how much kaju katli do you make now in season?
Roughly 4 tons a day we do.
4,000 kilos of kaju katli a day. Gives you an idea of the scale and popularity of the kaju katli.
Now this will cool down. Then the water will be circulated.
I love the way that kaju katli mix is heaving and bobbing, almost as if coming to a life of its own. So this is where the kaju katli finally takes shape. So after being cooked, cooled down.
Then we drop it in sheets. After the sheeting, then we cool it down. Then the cutting process.
I've tasted many a kaju katli, but I don't think I've ever accompanied one on its journey from the cashew and the sugar to the final, everyone's favorite diamond-shaped mithai.
Here we have two variants. One
Okay.
is the silver, other one without the silver.
So that is with the silver varak and this is without the silver.
South Indians, they prefer without silver.
Oh, okay. In the south, I think we are more conservative. We don't like things too flashy, including a kaju katli. Fantastic. I don't think one would have tasted kaju katli any fresher than this. The cashew has been pounded a few minutes ago with the sugar, heated and then cooled down before finally rolling to be cut into these wonderful diamonds, edible diamonds, I must say. You're primarily tasting the flavors of the cashew. What I like is that the sugar here isn't the sort that's overbearing. I think the sugar only brings that kaju together.
Kind of binding agent.
As you heat the sugar and the kaju mix in that kettle, you're tasting a bit of the melted sugar. It hasn't heated to that extent where it's caramelized, but it's just enough to bind all that kaju together. That's really what you're tasting. You're tasting the goodness of the kaju in this kaju katli. Does the varak also add a different element when you add the silver?
It's kind of, it's a presentation, it will look good. But
Correct.
taste-wise, I think this is much better.
Tastes much better because I think in the varak, you also get a slight metallic hint as you bite into that mithai first. But out here, it's the goodness of the kaju that has come together, aided by the sugar. Sweet number 1, check. Rasgulla. Is that the jamun?
This is the jamun.
Doodh peda, paneer jamun. Oh, there's also some son papdi happening here.
So this plant is completely sweet, sir. This floor, all kinds of sweets are manufactured.
There's a Mysore pak there. Oh, there's some jangiri happening there. I feel the equivalent of being a kid in a toy factory. But we are in no toy factory, we are in a sweet factory. The A2B sweet factory. Oh, dodda burfi. That's another one of my favorite sweets.
This is one of our top selling. Slow process, sir. The wheat is extracted and it's a slow cooking process.
So this is the wheat.
Yeah, wheat and milk.
We can share this. I love its sticky jamminess. So this is the wheat, the milk solids.
And little paneer in it.
Little paneer in that. And lot of ghee. Coconut ghee, dry fruits. What I love about the dodda burfi, unlike a poha only sweet, here the wheat that gives it that weight. It feels like you have something to bite into. Huh? Where does the wheat for this come from?
We source it from North India.
Absolutely delicious. And the nuts have softened, just add that element of texture. And what I really like here, Vishnu, is the fact that all the sweets that I've tasted so far aren't burdened with too much sugar. Of course, there is sakra because at the end of the day, it's a mithai you're eating. But it isn't so much that it comes in the way of tasting the principal ingredient. Like for instance, out here, the nourishing flavors of the khova with the heft of the wheat. So the wheat and the khova is roasted slowly.
Slow process. 4-5 years it takes. Cooking.
5 hours.
Naturally, the color forms naturally due to caramelization.
So this color is a caramelization of the sugar.
Caramelized.
And also the sugar which is there in the milk solids.
Wheat also, all put together. It's kind of roasting. It takes time. It's a slow process.
Delicious. The kaju katli may be their top selling item, but I think I have found my favorite mithai, or the mithai that I have tasted thus far. Fantastic. So good. And now the jangiri. So the jangiri is not the same as a jalebi. Many people think that jangiri is a fat jalebi. No, not at all. The jangiri is made with the urad dal, right? With the uddana bele. What do you call the uddana bele in Tamil Nadu? Ulunda. Ulunda mavu. So the jangiri is made with the ulunda mavu, the batter of the urad dal, right?
Yes.
So you got two different types of jangiris here, huh?
This is the big jangiri, that's the mini jangiri.
They're assembling a jangiri here, but we're going to watch the making of that jangiri. The ulunga mavu. I'm learning Tamil one word at a time. That's the ulunga mavu, which is made with the urad dal.
Then the corn flour is mixed.
A little bit of corn flour that goes into it. There's a bit of color too that goes into this.
Very little.
Kesar color. Jangiri has to be that orange color, though. If you were to make it without the orange color, people wouldn't accept it.
We can make, but it's up to what people they have. Jangiri. It's difficult to change it.
And I guess this is one of those sweets that probably even your grandfather's time they would make, right?
It's been a pretty long time. It's one of the sweet South Indian based sweet.
Okay.
People are fond of it, and still people are craving.
So what's interesting here is that out here you have a combination of sweets from different parts. So I saw the Rasgulla, which of course comes from East India. The dodda burfi again has its origins in the north with the wheat. So at A2B, the mithai that you have is not just restricted to one region, but draws from specialities of the south. And how did that happen?
Every time we want to introduce some new product to the market and to the consumers. So we try to source ingredients and source people there. It's a long process. Now we have close to 14, 15 state people are working this pack.
So I think A2B is not just about mithai, but as I walk around interacting with people, meeting cooks, craftsmen, halwais who come from different regions of the country, and also tasting mithai that comes from different regions of the country, I think A2B is not just a mithai factory or a mithai and savoury shop, but it also, in a manner of speaking, integrates the flavors of the country. Like that jangiri, which although has its roots in the south, is popular not just in the country but world over. So when it comes to the jangiri, they have two lines, right, of production. One is the automated line, and then there is also an artisanal handmade jangiri. But it's quite satisfying to actually watch that machine pipe out that jangiri, the ulanga mavu, into those concentric rounds and then make further twirls on top of it, and then that gently releases it into that bath of ghee, almost as if telling the jangiri, go, I'm done with you, now soak yourself in that bath of nehi.
Designed in such a way that air conditioning hits him, so it doesn't feel hot.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, that's very thoughtful. So when Vishnu spoke about taking care of the people, the employees who are custodians of the various recipes that have been handed through 3 generations, I think that's something they really focus on. Something that I've never seen before. Of course, I've never been in one of the country's largest sweet factory before. There is an air-conditioned vent out here that blows cool air on Vikram Kumar's head as he's frying that jangiri in hot ghee. And I think happy cooks make the sort of sweets that make customers happy eventually. So how long do you soak it?
15 minutes.
15 minutes. And that is what? Just sugar syrup?
Yeah, just sugar syrup.
Is there anything added like for flavor, like rose water, just sugar syrup?
We don't add extra flavors to it.
You basically want to help the natural flavors of the product shine.
Pop up and give the real feel of the product.
Fantastic. So that was a machine shaping the jangiri. Now we will look at a person shaping the jangiri.
don't want to take the art from the artisan, so that's why we have artisans also, doing it manually.
Oh, okay. And is there a difference in terms of?
It tastes the same, looks the same, everything's the same.
Because when I look at him shaping, he's shaping it with as much skill as the machine out there.
The only difference is that machine can give you 4 products at a time.
So here he does one at a time.
That's the difference.
So in a manner of speaking, you're also encouraging the craftsmen. So if one were to look only at the bottom line, one would say, okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
But out here, he's probably doing this for many, many years.
True, yeah.
And you want to preserve that craft.
We want to preserve the traditionality of it. Yeah. We want to keep it as authentic as we can.
How wonderful is that? But otherwise, it's identical.
It's the same.
So it's the same mahu that goes into that.
Everything remains the same.
We can have a taste.
We can have a taste. I think we should do that. Any excuse to taste. The machine-shaped jangiri versus the handmade jangiri. So like they say, the proof of the pudding is in the tasting, but in this case, it's the proof of the jangiri.
Yeah.
So there are 2 jangiris here.
So this is handmade and this is by the machine.
Really? If you didn't say that, I would have said this is by the machine because this is rounder. Right? If you look at the symmetries in this jangiri, this seems to be rounder. Also, if you look at the tiny twirls around the edges, this is more compact, I suppose. But other than that, how wonderful. That jangiri is still a little warm. It still has a residual heat of that sugar paka. That initial crunch as you bite into the outer wall of the jangiri, and then why very quickly a pool of thick sugary goodness. What I also like here is the roasted flavor of the uddanabele, the ulund. Yeah, that's what you can taste in this jangiri. What's really interesting here is that at least the mithais that I've tasted thus far, the flavors are very true to the ingredients, the principal ingredient that goes into it. I've tasted jangiri where there's also some gulab jal that gets added to the paka, and sometimes that can, if it's a little too much, it can take over the flavor of the ulanga, because the urad dal has a very delicate sort of flavor, and that flavor is only accentuated because it's roasted. And I think the corn flour helps in that crunch. The moment you bite into that jangiri, out gushes that thick pool of syrupy stickiness. And now that's a machine one.
Yeah.
If I have to be absolutely picky, the crunch in this is a little more discreet. In this, the crunch is a little more pronounced. But I think that has nothing to do with the shaping.
Yeah.
It's probably just the roasting.
Cooking time.
The cooking time. I think that's the interesting thing about sweets, right? Especially traditional sweets. I think everything plays a role.
Yeah, cooking time.
Cooking time, temperature,
and the atmosphere.
and the atmosphere, which is rather cool, I must say, because after all, we are in an air-conditioned plant. So this is the land of the Mysore Pak. So all this is Mysore Pak happening. Again a top seller.
What are the top?
We've already met 3 top sellers. We met the kaju katli, jangiri, dodda burfi, and now the Mysore Pak. Wonderful. So right now it's the sugar and the besan. Ghee gaya hai usme.
The moment the ghee comes out, that's
Yeah. So basically you keep feeding tuppa, you keep feeding nehi to the Mysore Pak, and it will drink it all up quite greedily, quite hungrily. But once it's had enough and it's ready, it says no, I don't want ghee, I don't want nehi no more, and it starts giving all that nehi back. That's when they know the Mysore Pak is ready. The Mysore Pak, of course, in Karnataka we know the Mysore Pak very well. So out here, is it a traditional Karnataka recipe or?
It's a kind of tradition. Here, plus certain key ingredients we add, little modified for the taste buds of it.
Like what do you add?
We add little milk solids,
So you add little milk solid, so some kova goes into it. So the texture will be slightly different.
a little change in it.
Ah.
As a brand, we have a uniqueness to us. So little change in recipe.
So the kova has already gone into that right now? Alright, and I guess that would also explain for the slight lighter yellow sort of a color.
The color combination.
The color combination. That's something that I noticed as soon as I saw this rotating drum of Mysore pak being roasted.
And one more key ingredient is the ghee what we use in this factory is everything. We procure butter, we melt it and we process it. We don't buy from the market.
So you make your own ghee.
We make it.
So you have complete control over the purity of the ingredients.
Quality.
So are the recipes guarded?
Everything is guarded.
So how many people in your family know the recipes?
Only very few.
Okay. In this cauldron, the ghee has just been introduced. I love that pool of molten ghee sloshing about, trying very hard to integrate itself, to make friends with the other ingredients in that swirling hot cauldron, namely the gram flour, the sugar and also the kova. I love that. Tasting ghee and also looking at it just makes you happy, makes me smile. There's some more nehi that's gone in, some more ghee that's gone in. I think that's what makes a good Mysore pak. Rivers and rivers of ghee.
Pure ghee.
Pure ghee. The ghee that's made by them. And what's also interesting here is the color of the Mysore pak. So for instance, out here, I find that the colors are deeper in the yellows, quite typical to the traditional Mysore pak that we find in most parts of Karnataka. But what they add here is the kova.
Yeah.
After adding the kova, the color lightens a bit. So this is a cauldron that we're seeing before the kova is added, and that's a cauldron that we're seeing after the kova is added. So although the colors have lightened, but I think the texture and the weight of the Mysore pak would have changed a bit, right? I'm quite eager to taste that Mysore pak now, because that kova is an interesting element that I'm seeing for the first time going to a Mysore pak. You can see the separation of the ghee from that Mysore pak mixture, and that's how they know it's ready. Ready to be poured into those trays and then cooled down. So this is a slab of Mysore pak. So this has cooled down for a
Now
bit.
this has been cooled down.
If Vishnu and his sister Abhirami were not watching, this is the sort of thing that you want to go home with. Now for example, a customer, let's say, who's tasted only the traditional Mysore pak, and when he tastes this and he says it's a little different, what would you say to that?
Both the products. If you go to outlet, you find the traditional Mysore pak as well.
Oh.
You have the
So if,
softer Mysore pak.
so if somebody were to ask for this Mysore pak, what should they ask for?
This is special Mysore.
Special Mysore pak. You can see that gradation of that color in that Mysore pak. And this is a traditional character of a Mysore pak, because as they keep it in the tray to cool down, the surface cools down rather quickly, rather rapidly, but on the inside that Mysore paka, with all that tuppa is still cooking, and therefore you will always find it a little roasted in the center. This is a soft Mysore pak. You can see some of that ghee, some of that tuppa, some of that nehi. What I can definitely taste is the weight of the kova. The Mysore pak is soft. It's rather smooth. Although you see the tuppa and you feel it on your fingers, what you're tasting more is the richness that comes from the milk solids. Lovely. Also, I suppose because you don't beat it too much, the texture is also one that you can discern quite easily. Can we also taste the other Mysore pak? So along with the special Mysore pak, we also have the traditional Mysore pak. So of course very different in its textures. This one is more solid. It's also more porous, as you can see. It certainly is a Mysore pak which is more biscuity, more crumbly in its texture. So this again is a ghee Mysore pak.
This is a ghee.
So all the Mysore paks that are made here with ghee. So all the sweets are pure ghee.
All sweets are made of ghee.
And the ghee you make.
Yes.
The khoa you make.
Quality parameters, wherever we are not satisfied with the market, that's when we invest, we make the products. Quality is the first criteria for us in terms of procurement.
Thankfully, you're getting the right wheat, you're getting the right cashew. Otherwise, you would have gone into the agriculture business too. Let's taste the traditional Mysore pak. This definitely tastes a lot more like the Mysore pak one would traditionally expect to taste. So I think the difference here is, I think this Mysore pak has more air pockets in it, and therefore the flavors that you taste are very different. Whereas out here, the ingredients are packed tighter, are packed more denser, and therefore it also sits rather heavy on your palate. So I think this Mysore pak you can easily probably do about 2 pieces, but once you finish a piece of this Mysore pak, you will certainly be burdened by the weight and that lush mouthfeel of this special A2B.
A2B special.
A2B special Mysore pak. That khoa texture I'm tasting for the first time. I thought I knew all about Mysore pak, but who knew that in the city of Chennai I would taste something new. With respect to the centuries old sweet, the Mysore paka. Well, I spot something that I want to taste. Nothing new in that.
Makan peda.
Oh, this is a makan peda. Hey, out here, there is no sweet that you don't make, huh?
Make around close to 180 products.
180 products. If you'd like to support the work that we do at Food Lovers TV, do consider joining our membership community on YouTube by hitting the join button below or on the home page. You could pledge a nominal sum and receive special privileges like behind the scenes footage, shoot updates, access to live Q&As and a lot more. You could support us on our Patreon page as well. For more info, check out the links in the description below. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, share and leave a comment below. Happy eating!